Hello, everybody. Loose Nightmares here, and today, or tonight, I'm going to be reading you the scariest story ever made. That's right, scarier than the fact that everyone involved in the Epstein files have yet to be arrested. Yes, today we are reading the origin of Eyeless Jack. Get ready, because you're going to shit your fucking pants. Click, click, click. Jack continued pressing the button on the remote, idly watching the different channels pop up before changing again. Nothing really came on during the weekends. Surprisingly, nothing but paid programming, other TV shows he didn't enjoy. Sighing, the college student rose up from his sofa, making his way to the desk resting against the wall next to his bed. He was already done with homework, finishing most of it in class that day. Unlike his roommate, Jack could get his shit done fast enough to have the rest of the day to himself to do whatever. He wasn't feeling to play any video games. Didn't really want to drive out anywhere. Swiping his black hoodie, spelt incorrectly by the way, off his chair, Jack slipped it on and grabbed his dorm keys, shoving them in his pocket after closing the door behind him. A nice walk around campus should do the trick. Fresh air usually calmed him, if not helped him think. Lately he'd been feeling different. He knew it wasn't his body or college itself. He didn't have any girlfriends to worry about. He just felt different without any explanation. It gave him a headache. He was thinking so hard. Jack rubbed his temples, pushing the door leading outside with his foot. A gust of wind swept across, slamming the door behind him. It was around 6 p.m. The sky was mixed with both orange and blue. The further the sky grew, the darker it got. Curfew, surprisingly, was 12 o'clock midnight. He never really questioned it vocally, but always wondered why it was so late. Usually curfew was around 8 p.m. where he lived. "Hi, Jack." The male looked up to see one of the girls in his class. She most likely left class, considering she still had her book bag on her shoulder. Jack half smiled and rose a hand to greet her. It was, what was her name? Jenny. Jenny Smith. Wow, that is a fucking generic-ass name. What, was fucking Janice White taken? Hey, Okay. Hey, hey, Jenny, just now leaving class? Jenny smiled and nodded her head, adjusting the strap. It's pretty late. What made you stay so long? The girl's smile lost its brightness for a split second before reviving. Just a study session. We have finals coming up soon, you know. Best to stay on the ball. She giggled before tucking her hair behind her ear. What are you doing out here anyway? It's gonna storm tonight. Jack shrugged his shoulders before eyeing the sky, smelling the air for moisture. Yep, it would rain any second. Just came out for some fresh air is all. Got done with homework, class, and stuff. Didn't feel like playing any video games or watching TV, so I came out here. Jenny nodded her head every so often, showing him that she was in fact paying attention, and smiled again. Hee hee. Hee hee. You got your air. I gotta go through. I'll see you later. Before Jack could reply with a goodbye, the girl quickly dashed off past him, following the sidewalk up around the side of the dorms. Jack rose a brow in curiosity, his mind zipping with questions, only to have it cut off by a drop of rain, then another and another. Shit, he muttered, running back to the door to get back inside, not wanting to get too soaked in the rain. Another slam of the door rose up behind him. Jack started shaking his fingers. What? Jack started shaking his fingers through his hair, sending water droplets everywhere while wiping off the rain from his face and jacket. As he made his way back up to his dorm, Jack began fishing through his pockets for his key, whistling a random tune while he traveled up the 2 flights of stairs. Listening to his tune echo out in all directions, it was kind of creepy now that he thought about it. Where was everyone? It was too quiet for a Friday evening. There was usually people up and about. Maybe lots of students stayed behind for tutoring. Maybe someone home for a weekend. Maybe people are already in bed or in their dorms being very, very quiet. Jack sighed as he began unlocking the door, shoving his keys back in his pocket after the door closed behind him. Yo, Greg, you here? Nothing. No response, just the sound of rain hitting against the windows. Huh, guess he's studying too. That's a first. Jack made his way over to his bed, slumping down to get ready to sleep. He pulled off his hoodie, kicked his shoes off, and rolled over to face the wall, not bothering with the covers. He just wanted some sleep. Closing his eyes, Jack slowly began dozing off, the rain practically lulling him to sleep. Praise turn along, for his blood-stained hands will bring salvation to us all. He shall bring us closer to our everlasting paradise. He is our Lord and Savior. Praise turn along, praise turn along. Jack let out a gut-wrenching gasp for air. Waking in a cold sweat, his eyes darted from one corner to another before rising up from his spot. He panted. Feeling his hands tremble from the dream he just had, Jack looked around his room, relieved that his roommate Greg was in his bed. Are they in Jack's bed or Greg's bed? He could tell he was fast asleep from the dreaded snoring that came out of him. He himself was surprised he could sleep through it. Slowly exhaling through his mouth, Jack rose up from his bed, staggering to the mini fridge on the other side of the room, his mind churning questions. What kind of dream was that? Never had he experienced one so real. Grabbing a water bottle from the mini fridge, Jack began gulping down the bottle, not caring if he woke Greg. Let out a cold sigh. Jack tossed the now empty bottle into the recycling bin because recycling is important. Now making his way to the bathroom, he stopped in front of a mirror, hands gripping the sides of the sink as he eyed himself. He was he was pale, eyes border. Okay, so the pear thing was a mistake by me. Eyes borderlining bloodshot was not a mistake by me. That is in the text. Eyes borderlining bloodshot, groaning, he let his head hang low, fighting the urge to vomit. Man, what the fuck? He murmured, running his hand across his forehead to wipe away more sweat. That's what I get for playing those survival horror games, he thought to himself, slightly smiling as he began brushing off the whole thing. Get it together, Jack. It was only a dream. Dreams don't come true. Okay, fucking nihilist. You just played too much silent. You just played too much Silent House, is all. You mean Silent Hill? No big deal. Just go back to sleep and get some decent rest. Easier said than done. Why is that in quotations? Who said that? That morning, Jack felt someone shake him awake. Dude, Jack, you got wake up, bro. You got to see this. Jack let out a tired, irritated groan from under the covers, slowly pulling them down to see what Greg wanted. The blonde grinned and flashed a photo on his phone in his Okay. Guess who got laid last night? It was a picture of some topless girl on his lap, posing for the camera. She looks drunk, Jack muttered sleepily, his hands slowly rubbing the sleepies? I don't know if you guys can see this. It says Sleepies. The sleepies from his eyes? Greg blew air through his pursed lips, rolling his eyes as he closed his flip phone. Yeah, Jack, you're just jealous, bro. Bullshit. I'd rather have a life to get some chick pregnant at college. Okay, dick. Touche, good sir. But fuck you, I use protection. Whatever. Jack began pulling his covers back over his head, feeling the weight of his friend rise up off his bed. Good, he could get back to sleep. Yeah, man, for a guy who boasts about having a wife, you sure do a lot of not living. Dude, I had such a weird dream last night. Jack paused when his mind processed the word weird dream and was instantly awake. Really? Me too. What was it about? Greg shrugged his shoulders, his fingers flying across the... What? Oh, Greg shrugged his shoulders, his fingers flying across the numbers on his cell, forming a text to his girlfriend. I had a dream where my grandma blew up like a balloon and started chasing me around with a giant fly swatter. Jack's fear and anxiety dropped. He turned his head to look at him. Oh, what the fuck? That's weirdly formatted. I thought okay. So this is Jack. I had a dream where my grandma blew up like a balloon. It started taking me around like a giant fly swatter. What the hell, dude? Greg laughed after snapping his cell shut. I know, right? 2 question marks. Fucking hate that hag. Won't surprise me if he completely dislikes me. I looked so much Sarah as a kid. Jack rolled his eyes, fully pulling the covers over his head, wanting to get more sleep in. Greg looked over and Rosa bowed. Wait, what? Was that Greg saying that was his dream, or was that Jack? What? Okay, whatever. Fuck it. You said you had a dream, right? You remember it? Jack laid there in silence, wanting him to just leave already. The blonde furrowed his brow and began nudging Jack's back with his foot. Come on! Tell me, I know you're awake. I had a dream about some guy preaching. And you say my dream is weird? That was weirdly fucking format. I thought that was Jack talking, and then Greg, and then what the fuck? Anyways, also, anyways, go on. Greg pulled his knees up. Oh wait, fuck, not there. I never said your dream was weird, but it is. Anyways, go on. Greg pulled his knees up, resting his arms on them as he listened. Jack sighed and rose up from his warm salvation of sleep. There was this guy preaching about some guy named Turnabog and that he lead everyone to paradise with blood-stained hands. They're dressed in these weird-looking robes and wore these weird freaking masks. Jack looked over to his friend, watching him give a weirded-out look. Bro, you've played way too much Silent House. Jack smiled a little and shrugged his shoulders. Relieved that his friend had said his thoughts the night before. What can I say? I love horror games. Jack spent most of his morning studying for finals. Wanted to get school-related things out of the way before he could enjoy his weekend. Greg left to meet up with his girlfriend, telling Jack he'd be back around 6. It was usually on Sundays when the two sat down together and played one of the many video games that had until it was time for bed. For Jack, that is. Sighing, he turned to the last page over on his notes packet, memorizing his handwriting slowly. Suddenly, a knock at the door tore him from his studying. Jack turned his head and eyed the door, then rose up from his desk to answer said door. Pulling it open, he was surprised to see Jenny standing in front of the door. Oh, hey, Jenny. Oh, hey, Jenny. Jenny smiled and waved. Hi, Jack. What are you doing inside on a Saturday? Fuck you, bitch. I can do whatever I want. What? I mean, I can't really... Okay, I'm the one... Okay, you know what? I did complain that he did point out that it's like, oh, I have a life, and then, like, new sleep. Am I a hypocrite, guys? Am I a hypocrite? Anyways, Jack looked back to his desk before turning back to the girl. I'm getting my studying done early so I can enjoy the rest of the day without relaxation. With relaxation. Fuck. Jenny nodded her head understandingly and placed her hands on her hips. Well, I'm sure you've done enough studying. You should come outside. Everyone's doing something today. Jack mentally sighed in relief. Good. So people were here today. I'll come out when I'm done, I guess. Jenny giggled and nodded again. Jack has known Jenny for like 2 days. Okay, see you later. And just like that, the student was off in a flash. Jack smiled a little before closing the door and making his way back to his desk. He sat down and began rereading the page of notes, keeping everything fresh in his mind. Then it hit him. How did Jenny know where his dorm room was? They never really talked to each other, let alone share dorm room numbers. It kind of gave him a creepy feeling at first, but then his realist side thought otherwise. Maybe she saw you come into this room once without you noticing. Maybe Greg had told her what room he lived in, and it was just so happened that Greg and he shared rooms. Shaking his head in frustration, Jack rubbed his temples. You're overanalyzing everything, Jack. No need to fret over pointless stuff, he said to himself, running his fingers through his hair. Like that. Maybe he was done studying for the day. Again, he swiped up his hoodie off his chair, and slipped it back on, along with his shoes before heading outside. When he got to the bottom of the stairs, he felt himself breathe another sigh of relief. When he saw how many students were up and about, glad to know he wasn't going crazy. He watched as some people played ball, tossing either a football or baseball. Who knows? Both are very similar. Girls were huddled in groups outside, talking about Lord knows what. Not that he cared. He was just happy to see people. Just then, a hand crept over his shoulder. Jack looked back to see none other than Jenny again. Oh, hey, Jenny. The girl smiled. You're outside of that dark room. Took my advice to come out, eh? Jack smiled nervously, giving a nod or two. You should hang out with me and my friends. We're going to go for a walk in the woods. Jack rose a questioning brow. For what? Jenny laughed. We're just hanging out at our place. Come on, don't be a wuss. Jack felt a little hesitant at first, but he slowly came around and agreed to follow. Jenny grabbed him by the hand and began tugging him along, making sure he was close. Hurry! Off to the cave! The cave? The cave? Jack asked, watching the forest grow bigger with every step. Our hangout, silly. Sarah found it at the beginning of the year, so he decided to make it a hangout area for us. Us? Jack asked again, looking back over his shoulder, watching the school slowly get consumed by the trees. Me, Sarah, Bobby, Fred, and Luna. You asked a lot of questions. Jack couldn't help but let out a nervous laugh. Sorry, I think I'm a bit sick. It's okay. It's okay. Wait, hold on. God, I don't mean to. I've been having a rough weekend, is all. Jane looked back at him and smiled. It's okay. We all have our days. As minutes passed, the two walked around what seemed like an invisible path that only Jenny could see. Jack couldn't help but begin to worry. He was about to open his mouth to ask another question until the girl released his hand, punching her fist in the air. We're here, she sang, running ahead of the boy. He's a grown man. He goes to college. Jack looked up to see a rather large cave next to a babbling brook. He watched as two girls and boys appeared from inside it, greeting Jenny happily, till they saw Jack. Their smiles faded, and they began leading in to Jenny, whispering while keeping their eye on him. Jack felt a little nervous, feeling as if he shouldn't be there at all, and that he should be back at his dorm playing goddamn Silent House again. But Jenny looked back as well, gesturing him to come forward. Forwards like it was okay. The brunette took a deep breath before making his way over. Eyeing over everyone but Jenny, all of them still didn't look pleased despite their forced smiles. Yeah, hey, Jack rose a hand and giving a wave. Sarah eyed him over before crossing her arms. Ooh, spooky. Hi, she said bluntly. Hey, said Bobby and Luna. Sup? Fred smiled, shoving his hands in his pockets. What is he doing here? What? What's he... Okay, Sarah. What's he doing here, Jen? I thought it was just going to be you. Jenny rolled her eyes at Sarah's statement and wrapped an arm around Jack, her free hand patting him on the chest. I thought it would be cool if you guys met Jack. He's a really cool guy, honest. Luna and Baba looked at one another while Fred nodded. I've heard about him. Straight A student. A smart kid. Again, grown-ass man. Fred walked over to Jack and began leading him inside the cave, rambling on about what kind of video games he liked. Leaving the group aside, Sarah shot daggers towards Jenny. Jenny gave a stink eye back. This is a horror story, by the way. I want to point that out, just in case you forgot. What the hell do you think you're doing, Jane? We can't let outsiders into... He's not going to find anything else. Be nice for a change, Sarah. Sarah glared and then grumbled under her breath. Following after Fred, Luna, and Bobby looked at one another before going in as well. God, the group settled inside. Everyone huddled around a fire in a circle. Jack sat in between Jenny and Fred while the others completed their small circle. Jack felt uncomfortable, especially with Sarah giving dirty looks every so often, but surprisingly, the evening wasn't all too bad. Everyone got to know a bit more about him, asking questions and talking about what they enjoyed doing, talking about school and exams. Jack looked around the cave as they spoke. It was cool inside. They had tables and desks, places where they set up books, and they even had a compartment for food. It really was like a place to hang out. Yes, I worried for about nothing. I'm the narrator. Is Jack... Hold on, is Jack narrating, or is it like... What the fuck? Whatever. I guess I worried about nothing. It wasn't even I was worried about nothing. I worried about nothing. Jack thought, smiling at the comment Fred made. There was a sudden clap of thunder from the distance, causing the group to look up at the entrance of the cave. Another storm? Sarah complained, rising up with a book bag over her shoulder. I'm leaving. Last thing I want to do is get caught in the storm. Bye. Sarah turned on the heel and ran over to her bike, resting up against a tree, and rode off back to the school. Lynn and Bobby both rose up together. We don't want to get wet either. We'll catch you guys later, okay? Luna said, smile. I'm not even gonna do fucking voice anymore. I'm so tired. It's the middle of the night, by the way. I thought this was gonna be a short story. Smiling over at Jack and the others, the duo both pulled their book bags up off the ground, running off to try to beat the storm. Fred didn't move. I'm going to stay here for a bit. There's some things I need to get back here. You guys can go on ahead if you want. Jack looked to Jenny before getting up off the stool. Yeah, I'm going to go back too. Greg is probably back and might be wondering where I am. Jane smiled up him and on and fucking who cares? Okay, I'm going to help Fred. Just follow the same path back to the school. I'll see you later, Jack. Jack smiled and waved goodbye to the two. He, too, making his way out of the cave and into the forest. It shouldn't be that too hard to get back if he followed Luna and Bobby from afar. An hour passed. Jack began unlocking his dorm with his keys, opening the door to find Greg on his laptop and his laptop on the sofa. Greg looked up and smiled. Yo, Jack, where have you been? He asked, surprised that Jack had stepped out altogether. And remember, guys, Jack has a life. I was invited to come look at some secret base of the forest behind the school. He replied, closing the door behind him while he began kicking off his shoes. Greg... Oh my god, the story isn't fucking over yet. Greg rose on brow, closing his laptop. Oh really? Invited by who? You know that Jenny girl in our first period class? Greg smiled slowly faded. Dude, she's weird. Jack furrowed his brow in confusion. He keeps doing that. What do you mean she's weird? Weird like how? Greg looked away nervously. You know, the kind of shit she reads. She has like books upon books about these freaky ass cults. I shit you not. You guys play horror games. Why do you care? Why do you think she's weird? Why aren't you are weird? You're weird. You guys are weird. You guys play horror games. Are you weird? Why do you care about what this girl likes? You barely fucking know her. You've known her for 2 days. Oh my fucking god. Dude. Jack rolled his eyes before walking over to his dresser. Dude, I'm serious. You probably shouldn't hang out with her. People who read that stuff are messed up in the head. Yeah, whatever, Jack replied, rummaging around through his clothes. I'm going to take a shower. We have another storm coming. Eric blinked and looked back at their window. Oh man, really? I was going to go out with Gabby tonight. He moaned sadly, watching the clouds turn into deep gray. Jack chuckled at his friend before going into the shower. What? Jack, wake up, Jack. Jack felt Greg shake him, growing angry. Oh, what? What is it? He asked. Oh, my fucking. He looked at him, a nervous Greg. Greg looked over the window. Dude, someone's out of the forest lighting fires. Jack rubbed his eyes with his palm. Do what? Someone is outside lighting fires. Look! Greg pulled him out of his bed and pointed him out towards the forest. Jack sighed, still rubbing his eyes before looking out the window. To his surprise, there was a fire lit, but it was far back into the woods, almost on the area where Jenny's secret base was. Well, I be damned, there's a fire, he muttered, noticing that the storm had stopped. What time is it? 2 a.m. We should go check it out. That looks like where their little hideout is. Greg gave Jack a freaked out look of, you're go out of your fucking mind. What? I'm sure there's a perfectly good explanation for why. So, Jesus Christ. Yeah, for cults, Jack shot a look. Dude, get over yourself. There is no cult. I call bullshit. I'm not going. You chicken. Dude, seriously, don't go. The last thing you want is getting in trouble. Whatever, I'm going to go check it out. If there's anything wrong, I'll report it to the headmaster. If there's a fucking cult out there, how are you going to report to the headmaster? Jack ranged out of his pajamas. He's a grown-ass man. He wears pajamas. Dressing in jeans, a blue t-shirt, along with his black hoodie and shoes. Pulling out their emergency flashlight from the desk drawer, because they have that, of course. Jack walked over to the door. I'll see you in a bit, he called out, watching Greg shake his head. Curiosity killed the cat, man. Killed the cat. You're grown-ass adults. You're grown-ass adults. I think the story keeps forgetting that these are adults in college. Jack pulled his hood up over his head and began making his way down the stairs. It was probably just Jenny and her friends hanging out with their spotlight. God. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, for joining me on this night of nights. Today is the night when we summon our Lord and Savior Chernobog. The group below him cried and called out things like praise Chernobog and all hail Chernobog. Tonight is the night when Chernobog chooses his sacrifice, the one who will lead us to paradise and free us from this hell. The residents began cheering and chanting the name of Chernobog. Jack shook his head in disbelief, slowing back up. Oh my god, there really is a cult! He murmured. Jack turned to run back to the school, only to be stopped by Jenny, who was standing there the whole time. Jenny, thank God you're here. Jack ran over to her. There's a cult thing. We gotta tell someone. Cult? There is no cult, Jack. You're just overreacting. She chuckled, suddenly feeling Jack shake her by the arm. No, listen to me. We gotta get out of... Jack's words were caught by a rock against his head. Okay, whatever. His eyes fluttered slightly, You know how your eyes flutter slightly when you fucking get your head smashed in with a rock? Yeah, that's how that works. Stumbling back before collapsing on the ground with a thud, blurry figures began circling around him as he watched Jenny smile down at him, and then everything went black. I'm surprised everything didn't go black immediately. Jack awoke from a bucket of cold water being dumped over his head, blood trickling down from the side of his head onto his ear to the side of his face. He winced, feeling his head throb in pain. Again, I'm sorry, I am a bit stuffed up here. So, yeah. The second he remembered the last thing he saw, he gasped, looking up to see that he was sitting in front of everyone. His arms were held firmly behind his back. The leader of the cult looked up in front of him and smiled under the mask. Chernobog has found his sacrifice. Hail Chernobog, he called. Listening as the group repeated the phrase, Jack attempted to struggle, the pain of his head fighting against him. You shall become one of Chernobog's sons, the chosen one to live upon this wretched world and do his bidding. The group called the praise once more. Jack shook his head as fast as he could. No, oh, you're crazy. Let me go, he yelled. Leo yelled, fuck off. Come, my brothers and sisters, help me change this non-believer into the son of Chernobog. Aren't there sons of Chernobog, though? Your cult doesn't really make that much sense. Which is insane, because it's a fucking cult. Praise Chernobog for his blood-stained hands will bring salvation to us all. He shall bring us... Oh, fire. Don't give a fuck. Jack listened as the group began chanting in a different language. He felt his heart grow faster and faster, watching one of the group members walk before them with a tray of tools and other... Walk before them with a tray of tools and other queer objects. What do you mean queer objects? I know that queer can mean two different things, gay and happy. What about this is gay or happy? Maybe there's a third meaning, I don't know. The person pulled their mask off, revealing it to be Jenny, of fucking course. She smiled, taking a spoon from the tray. Isn't this great, Jack? The great Lord Chernobog has chosen you to be his son. Jack shook his head, tears flowing in his eyes. No, I don't want to be a son of Chernobog. Please don't. I never knew you'd be the one. No, Jay, please. No, Jay, please don't. I don't want to be a fucking son of Chernobog. Oh, hail Lord Chernobog. The girl then stabbed the spoon in his left eye. Ignoring the cries of pain, Jack let out. He squirmed and struggled against the two who held him down, feeling his eye being gorged out from its socket. Hold still, Jack. You'll make me kill you. Isn't that what you want? Jane said with complete calmness as she began working on... Oh my god. She began working on his other eye. Watching blood spirit and trickle down from his face. So ignoring his cries and pleas, the leader accepted, holding a bowl of black hot ooze in his hands. Not like tar or anything, just ooze. Oh, the sad Chernobog, he called, watching Jenny hold his head still and begin pouring the tar it's not tar, it's tar-like. What is that? We don't fucking know. So inside his socket, it's checking out the script pain, feeling the substance overflow and trickle down his eyelids, placing his head on. The leader began chanting the same language as the others. Watching as Jack's body become limp and lifeless, he watched as Jenny held a book and opened it to a fucking passage of a different language. Rise, O great Lord Chernobog. I don't give a fuck. Rise. Good God. Okay, this is, oh my fucking God, last stretch, finally. Panting heavily, Jack rose up from the now dead body of Bobby. No, not Bobby. He was my favorite character who appeared for half a second. Yanking off the mask he wore like the others, stayed up, he looked over the massacre he created. Every single person was dead. Masks were torn off, before its throat slashed, guts cut open, out, eyes gorged out, his hood and pants stained with blood, scalpel in hand. Scalpel in hand, Jack turned to the last lady person, Jenny, borderlining death. Fucking hell. They fucking misspelled borderlining. Oh my god, borderlining. God, again. Borderlining death. Watched as he stepped above her. His skin had turned black. You thought it was gray. Isn't it usually depicted as being gray or grayish? Teeth sharpened to a point, nails long and sharp. He wasn't human anymore. She smiled, leaking from her mouth as she spoke. Release me into everlasting paradise. Jack growled, roll. Teeth showing. You don't deserve paradise. None of you do. So you say he's not human, but he's able to talk? He knelt down, swiping the mess of the ground. Burn in hell, all of you. Wow, the writer thought that was really badass, didn't they? Jane watched as he pulled the mask on. Pulled the mask on? The black sun was trickling down onto the mask from his eyes. She grabbed hold of his ankle weakly, begging to be released to paradise, only to have it pull away from her. Before walking off into the shadows, she cried, tears rolling down her face as she caught up to him into her last breath. Oh, suddenly, this just in! A group of students have been slaughtered at Westwood College. Autopsy reveals everyone's kidneys have been removed, and for reasons unknown. Many believe it is to do with the supposed cultist act with school. Well, student Jack Nichols has been reported missing. More tonight at 9. Okay. First things first. What the hell was that? What the the story just kept dragging on and on. It's just like, you saw, like, in this video, you saw the life slowly leave my, like, face. You saw the life slowly leave my eyes as I just got tired of this fucking story. It went on for too goddamn long and nothing happened that was satisfying. What did the cult want? Did they want to die? Did they, like, what the fuck is happening? Did they want to die? Did they want to, like... It feels like the writer didn't really write what the cult wanted. It feels like they just wanted a cult and then just wrote a cult. It didn't, like, write a realistic reason for that cult to exist, so they made up some bullshit about them. Oh, they want death, I guess. Why don't they just commit suicide? Why did they do all this? Whatever. Fucking... I'm so glad this is fucking over. This was hell. Holy fuck. Who the hell wrote this? What psychopath thought this was a good idea to write? Fuck it. Oh my god. That was like a fucking marathon. Alright. So, as always, this is Lucid Nightmares. Signing out. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share to your friends and family. See you next time. I'm going to get some sleep because I recorded this in the middle of the fucking night.